Hello guys, this is Jaya for the session of digitalization. Today we are going to discuss what is the impact of digitalization in both personal and the domestic life of ours. So, the session starts with a scenario where there are two friends whose name is Bob and David. They are having their own business in tours and travel. Where in this situation where Bob is earning less and David is earning more. So we will see in this scenario that why there is a difference between uh, these two friends who are earning. One is earning less and second is earning more. So the difference between in this business is Bob is doing through traditional way of method, which is applied in his business, whereas David is using digital way to do it. So in this scenario, the Bob is earning less because he has used this particular method. It is a total time consumption, and as for nowadays, the customer doesn't wait in a queue so that his services to be completed. They want the services to be completed instantly. Their queries should be answered instantly. Whereas Bob is struggling to do so because it is a total lot of time consumption in there. Whereas David is doing an additional tool where he keeps all his bookings, all the complaints, all the queries on an online platform where he is able to give the answers of the customers, even try to help with their queries, even if they have the requests. He is doing it instantly, trying to attend all the customers at a time so that he can resolve all the query instantly and the customer need not to wait for his service to be completed. So that is the reason there are two methods, but they have a different points into it. And whereas Bob is struggling to grow his business, but David is earning more and more, and his business is flourishing day by day by using this digital tool. So, in my next slide, which comprises of the difference between in these two methods. So, when we are talking about these two methods, it is a traditional method in which the more manpower is involved, the time consumption is more, it is a very high costing, the processing is very slow, and the chances of error is very high. But when we see in a digital method, the less manpower is involved, the time consumption is less, the costing is very low, the processing is very faster, and it has more and more accuracy when we are trying to help the customer. That is why the digital method is important in a business tool if you're using it on an online platform. But in an online platform, the uh, traditional method is not very supportive if you're doing a business. So we always use in our domestic life also nowadays. Every person have they are not carrying the cash. They always try to do in additional way of things. Why? Because it is more convenient to have this digital tool in their domestic life also, because whether they are buying a product or or any purchasing is done which is done on a digital tool, it becomes an easy because you get all the deals or you get all the information about the product you want to buy. That is why digital method has its both impact on business as well as in the domestic life. Now, my second slide comprises of the definition of digitalization. When we are talking about the digitalization, so digitalization comprises of four factors. One is the technology, second is the data, third is the process, and fourth is the organizational change. So when we are talking about the first point, that is technology, technology either creates new or modifies the existing technology, which makes it more and more transparent for the consumers as well as for the business owners. Second is the data. So when you are running the business on an online platform, there are a lot of data which is kept in an online platform. So you can just compare your data with the other people products so that you can understand where your product is standing. You can do a market analysis. You can try to understand why your product is not popular among the consumers, so you try to improvise it. So these things comes hand in hand when we are talking of a digital tool. Third comes the process. So when you have a business on an online platform, you try to automate that process to modify the complexity of the business to make it more and more easier for the consumer when they are visiting your web page or an app. So it makes it easier to understand or to know about what are their things in that particular website or the app. Last is the organizational change. When we are talking about an organizational change, when a consumer requires an improvisation into a particular product, so to give that improvisation, you have to do many improvisation in your internal organization so that you can make the product more and more improvisation, more and more better to give to the consumer. That is why these four things, these 4 points are the pillars of the digitalization in a business model, because these things are required when you are running a business on an online platform. Now, what is actually the importance of digitalization when we are talking about the importance of digitalization? First thing which comes into my mind is to increase the efficiency. When we are using this tool, we have the increasing of efficiency over there. So how it increases, like whatever the documents or the data you have kept it online, if there is natural disaster, or if it is stolen or something loss has happened in your system, so still you have that opportunity to retrieve those documents and keep it safe. But in a traditional way of method, you don't have that luxury, because if it is lost, you have to create from the scratch to make the entire bundle again. But in a digital tool, you can retrieve all the data and make it safe in your online platform. Second point which comes into my mind, that in importance when you go for a business growth. So how do you do it? Like a customer, to retain those potential customer whenever the customer comes to you, according to your query, according to his or her complaints, and if the representative of a company is listening to that particular query and trying to help the customer in such a way, try to give the solution for it, so the customer would be really happy. If I would be in the same situation, so I would be really happy if the person is understanding my issue, understanding my query. And it becomes more and more important if the customer, if the company is more understanding, he understands the customer thing and he is trying to resolve it. So what happens in this scenario, it happens that this potential customer will recommend your channel to the other people and would come for the repeat purchases. That is more important in a business growth, because everybody wants the customer base, everybody wants the business growth. And how it happens, if it works with the repeated purchases and it has a good customer base on your app or website. That is why the retention of the customer is important, and the efficiency goes hand in hand when we are talking about the importance of digitalization. Now, my second slide comprises of the example. Example can be anything. Nowadays, if I have to give an example of digitalization, it would be like a person who wants to be remain fit, and for this, he buy the smartwatch, in which he can come to know about how much calories he's burned, how much is a heartbeat, how much steps he has worked. So this is also a part of a digitalization, because these things are not available if you're not having this watch. And if you're walking and you want to understand what are the calories are burned and how much fit you are, that cannot be done in a traditional way. It has to be in some digital tool to make it understand if that watch is with you, and it will give you a certain indications that so much steps is still has to be completed, your heart rate is this and your calories is that much is burned. So nowadays everybody wants to use digital tool in a one way or other, whether it is in a business or whether in a professional personal life. because every time the children want to play games nowadays nobody play games on a cards or something, so everybody wants it on the system. They want to play the action games, they want to play any other type of games which is are only available on the computers. So it is something which everybody wants a digital tool in one such a way or other, because it makes it easier, it makes us convenient in both sections of life, whether you are running a business or whether you are in a personal life. So that is why digital tool has its own impact, has its own importance when we are using it in both ways. Second, my comprises this digitalization session would be the advantages. What do you think? What are the advantages of digitalization? It is, first of all, it is a time saving. Second is a cost saving. Third is the accuracy. Uh, Next is a secure, then the easy distribution and increase in profit. So these all come hand in hand. Why it is time saving? Why? Because when we are talking about a time saving, you don't have to go here and there. You just sit in a place where you are in office or at home, and you can just serve it in the website which product has the more, the product you are trying to buy have the good deals, or what is the information about. Cost saving, when you are not traveling from one place to another, it saves your cost as well. More and more accuracy, when you are trying to get through more and more information about the product and you try to get it safe in your online platform. Second is the secure, when you're putting all the things on an online platform and if something happened, but still it has a benefit to get it secured. You can retrieve all the documents, all the pages which you're looking around. Easy distribution, when you want to tell about something about your product, a newly launched product or your company, you can do it through social media, which makes it easier to grasp more and more people in that, because nowadays people are sitting in online social media pages where you can just distribute all the information about your product so that it will grab more and more people rather than in a traditional way of method. And last is the increase of product profits, which I told you, when you retain those customers, you will get the repeat purchases, you will get the better customer base, and it will help your business growth as well. So these are the advantages which goes hand in hand. You don't have to go here and there, but if these pointers are there in your business point of view, then you can flourish your business very well. But these points are not available in traditional way, because it is a lot time consumption, and nowadays not even a consumer, I'm talking about a personal life also. Why? Because the people doesn't want to wait for the service to be completed, so everybody wants it to be instantly. So the digital tool, we required it more and more every day, more and more in a every phase of life, because digital tool makes our life more and more convenient, more and more easy to use it in every phase of things. So this is about the digitalization, the whole, which you learn about what is digitalization, what is its importance, then the example, and then what is the advantages of digitalization with the situation over there. So now my which we have come into the last section of our session, which is a case study. Today we are dealing, our all case study deals with a QR code. So we do have a different case study today with this QR code, is about the election and the voting system. Nowadays, the elections and the voting systems are really, really important in today's world. So when we are talking about the elections, there are some things which I wanted to tell you about in this particular case study. So, I'm starting through the digital tools such as QR code for voting system are employed by the Electoral Commission to establish the strict methodology that helps in avoiding the manipulation and ensuring the convenient voting process. That makes it easier for the voting process. It doesn't have any manipulation over there. So the preparation is always needed for the seamless election, which are really vital. Therefore, it is always necessary to establish a strict and effective system beforehand, because it should not be disturbed by any other point, but it should be really effective. So the operations such as determining the eligible voters, setting up the election procedure, dispensing the ballots, organizing the voting stations, and creating a counting system, which are few services which are needed meticulously monitoring while in the voting system. So now the voting system is integrating the QR code to improve the voters' experience while ensuring an auditable record. With this QR code, campaigns are used in the intricate procedure during the elections to accumulate the voters' data and auditing reskills. So that means it making the process convenient, and it ensures all the servers to be done or to be monitored meticulously to make that process more and more convenient for the voters. So now my second point, which comes out, how the QR code work for the voting system. So this is a using of this innovative QR code for voting system provide the more convenient and security. Two things that are highly necessary during this election process. First, in election. Commissioner Assembly, a better voting system calls for a strict anti-counterfeit measures like using QR codes, that there should be no manipulation, there should be no fraud into it. When scanned with a specialized scanner on the smartphone devices, these codes will reveal the embedded info about the user who's trying to scan it and trying to give the vote. Data like the voting guidelines, voters authentication, identification, which I was telling when they are going for it. So it makes it easier, it makes it convenient for both the who is organizing the election and who are giving the votes. So, and the software link and the ballot links can be embedded in this particular QR code. You can, if you are into this particular business, if you're organizing this elections campaigns and you are helping in the voting system, so you can use this QR code and you can have those information in this particular QR code, like guidelines and the identification, ballot links, and everything you can put in this QR code, and it can be into a very much convenient way. So my next point, when we are using this QR code in election, there is second is a voter slip. When you go for a election, the voter slip is more and more important. So how do the QR code helps into it? So when a QR code in a voter slip helps in a quick identification of the voter. When scanned, the officials can easily check whether the voter is authentic or not. That is more important when you are organizing that campaign. Plus, this will ensure a quick way of marketing the audience of the voters. The aim behind this was to speed up the identification process, but because if you put it in a traditional way, it take a lot of time to complete this procedure. But if you're taking with this QR code, it makes it easier. It makes it more faster to uh, the election process. All the voters were issued a digital voter slip containing the QR code. So QR code could be linked to the voter's contact detail. Besides, if the voter forget their slip, they could simply download the QR code from the voter helpline. They can have this benefit that if they forget, they can also can have that voter slip from the voter helpline app. So that is why the QR code, all in all, is really, really important while you are organizing in the election and the voting system, which makes it a convenient way for both the people who is organizing and the people who are casting their vote in the elections. Second is a drive the voter registration to enable the election campaigns. So voter registration is also an important part when you are organizing that election, because The votes are the most important part of any election, whatever the election is there, whether it's a student election, whether it is a political election. So the votes are really, really important. So the election campaigns carries out to gain maximum support from people via votes. So they can understand if they don't have the people, if they don't have the votes, so they try to get more and more support through this part. But if your supporter can't register to vote or find it difficult to register, the whole point of the campaign becomes moot. So that makes it a difficult when your supporter can't register or can't able to cast a vote. It becomes very, very difficult. So, the reaching out the voters using this viral QR code campaigns would make the registration process easier for the potential supporter, which you think are really, really important, and through their votes, it makes it easier. So, state that support online registration will likely to see the percentage of the voters, and the QR code is based on the campaign that maximizes the take. So it makes it easier, the awareness of the political party when you are putting that registration with your QR code. It shows the awareness. The political party use these QR code in number of creative way to get the potential supporters to register link. So the QR code makes it more easier in a registration process as well. So if you use it, it makes it easier because you want supporters. I'm not talking about only the supporters. I'm talking about in every field you require the votes, you require in every industry, you require the support when you are running the business, whether it is an election, whether it is a business. In any which field, you require that part and you need the supporters for your business. Second is the maximize the brand campaigning. So, what do you mean and how this QR code comes into the picture for this brand campaign? So, the election campaigns start anywhere from several months for several years before the election days. Whenever there is an election, where there's a political campaign is going on, so it starts from very early days to make it happen. So once a political candidate decide to run for the election, the campaign, and when the campaign is kick started, this could be a simple press release to speaking on media outlets to even the campaign tours they will having it. The campaign often dispatch the volunteer into the community to meet with the voters and to persuade the people to vote for that particular. So for the branding of the campaign, they always try the people should come into the press media. They just start their volunteer to come into the community and persuade the voters to cast their vote for that candidate. Regardless of its effectiveness, it still has it's a manual and a tiresome task if we do it in a traditional way of method. But if we do through this QR code, you can embed this QR code on yard signs, flyers, and banners so that they can get all the information about the candidate as well as for the election campaign. Second, you can put it as provide the voters with the exclusive access to the information about uh, the candidates for office, important events in poll, exclusive invites on the rally. So that makes it more and more easier for the voters to understand about the candidate and what they are doing. So these things make an important thing when you are trying to vote for a person. So every person have their own choice, have their to understand their leader if they are doing good or not. So these things are brand campaigning is also very important when you are in election and a voting system. Second is the QR code and poll survey and the poll to tally the voters. So that is also more important when you have to survey, you have to understand what is their experience into it. So political polls and survey are really, really essential tool used by the political parties in organizing their campaign and crafting the strong means to appeal the masses. So modern poll are in the form of the survey. research using a random sample of population to produce an apt picture of the public opinion while still they accounting the margin of error. So there is many things are going on into it. So when we take a survey or a poll into that, it makes it easier when you are using this technology to make it more and more easier. So by switching of the QR codes to receive the answer for the survey, because every political party have their own survey, have their own polls. So you need to get the understanding what is all about. So by switching through QR code to receive the answers for their survey and the poll is not only easy but also really quick. It also helps a campaign to manage and attract the great deal of attention for their ability to analyze the process and help and predict the outcome of the election. So number of voters are equipped with the smartphone and increasing, and it is increasing like day by day. And so the political parties has jumped on the bandwagon and leveraged that QR code tech to automate their election campaigns to reach out more and more voters. That is all we always require, that for our campaign, for our polls, for our service, we can understand that how the people are working on it and how the voters are giving the vote. We can easily predict, we'll try to predict that how many voters and what is the outcome of these election campaigns. So that is why the poll and survey part is really important, and it is really important for the elections when we are having for the political parties. So when we are having this, it makes it more and more easier with the QR technology. So last is my point, which is in the earlier point, it also understand the experience of the voters when you're doing the survey and tally with the voters. So my last point would be that e-voting, which you all know there is a point which comes in an e-voting nowadays. Previously, most countries and states require the voters to authenticate their identity at the polling station to allow to cast their vote for their candidate. Suppose the election, the votes are counted manually by the poll workers. You all know it was done manually. Nowadays, it becomes it easier. So this process only a tedious but also inconvenient. You all know when you do the hard work in a manual way, or you can't counting all the votes in a manual way, it becomes a very tedious job for the people. So with the e-voting, a vote can cast their vote wherever they are. So it doesn't count when where vote, it makes it easier. Why? Because nowadays people always want an e-vote over there, always want a digital tool where they don't have to travel to the specific state or a country and to cast their vote. They can, that has that luxury that they can vote from anywhere. So the e-voting system used the QR code to cast the vote, and based on the visual cryptography, each voter is granted with a password that is encoded with a QR code. And the voter has to simply scan the QR code, unlock the password. The password retrieved can be entered into the voting platform for the authentication, and then the voters are allowed to cast their votes. So that becomes an easier part when you are just scanning this QR code and you unlock that password, and you can just have the two major points which authenticates and which gives you the right to cast your vote. So election voting system aims to gain a high level of security as a voter casts their vote to remotely and access only upon scanning that dedicated QR code provided to them. Nowadays, if you apply this part, so it makes it easier for the voters as well as for the elections. So it becomes a QR code allows a transparent communication system to the state election server and shows how the voter casts their vote without compromising any privacy. So that is what all about when you are doing in an election voting system. So the main points which you need to take away, that uh, what I suggest that you should, who is organizing these elections and the voting system, who are organizing the ballot system and everything, so they should use this QR code while for the voting. Second, a slip should be used. That you make it more and more handy for the consumer. Third, try the voter registration should be very convenient and useful for the people by using this QR code. Then you have to maximize your brand, your campaigning branding, which is more and more important because wherever you go, when you do campaigning about your elections or the person, because it is done a lot of couple of days earlier before the election, and it makes it when you do it through like on flyers, you're putting that QR code so that the person should understand what is that candidate all about, what he's doing, what are the events, what are the steps. So all in all, the information about the candidate. Second, you can put it as a poll survey as well. And the last, you can apply that e-voting part in the thing where they can just cast their vote from any part of the country or a state. They don't have to sit or they don't have to come to the queue for the particular city to cast their vote. So that makes it easier for both people who wants to cast their vote and the election people. So try to make it more and more. The whole story, the whole case study which I'm dealing with the QR code is only make the things very convenient, very useful for the consumers as well as for the business owners. That is the only main objective behind it when I'm doing a case study. So I'm giving the points only to make it understand that how you can do it more conveniently for the people, to make it more easy for the person who are casting their vote or any other industry that if they're purchasing it. So every industry or every part they want information about, whether it is an election, whether it is any type of industry, to know about it. So this is all about election and voting system. Today I'm working with the UX Living Lab, which is a market research company in which we only execute the qualitative and quantitative research work. Even we do the discussion, ethnographic studies and everything for the clients, for the product service, so that we can innovate or give the strategy to the client's product and process to according to the market situation. Now you always have a thought in a mind, how do we do it? We do it from the consumer insight, and after that we make an extensive report for it to make it understand that how we can innovate, how we can give a new strategy for the client's product or process or services. So this is all we do, and we are doing it globally. We are not only restrained to one country, we are doing it globally. So this is the company all about. If you want to know about a company, our features, about our pricing, just let me know. Just inbox me your details, or you can just have a calendar appointment with me so that I can reach you out and I make you understand how it works, a company works. So UX Level Lab always try to help the clients with their innovative strategies and with try to innovate the things through consumer insight. That's what our company do because it's a market research and it is doing it globally. So thank you for the session, and if you have any suggestion for it, please do let me know. Thank you.